will never take responsibility.
It's like the arsonist complaining about the people who are trying to put the fire out.
Now, is this easily Kemi Badenoch's most disastrous PMQs by far? Now, with the farmers running round London that day, you would think this would be a slam dunker for our leader of the opposition, Kemi Badenoch. Oh, no. Our Kamikaze Badenoch went with a topic that the Tories failed miserably at and helped give refuck the boost they desperately needed. Yes, immigration. Yes, the Prime Minister, who had recently relaunched his cabinet with new targets, milestones and missions, but last week in PMQs he seemed to prioritise cutting immigration over appointing fraudsters. How ironic. And the question remained why he did not prioritise addressing immigration issues. Well, Keir Starmer replied with, the leader of opposition is now expressing her desire to discuss immigration despite previously avoiding discussing it due to the previous government's record high levels of immigration. The net migration of nearly 1 million was an unprecedented one-nation experiment in open borders. We'll get to that later. But anyway, despite applauding the removal of caps on immigration visas, she's now furious about her campaign to reduce lawful and legal migration. Then Kemi, for me, just shit the bed when she fired back with this drivel when she said the Prime Minister has been campaigning for free movement, advocating for skilled migration and relaxing immigration. However, his past record is concerning. 4 years ago, the Prime Minister signed a letter requesting that foreign criminals be allowed to stay in Britain. This led to dozens of Labour and Liberal Democrat MPs signing similar letters, insisting that rapists and murderers should also be allowed to stay. Well, then she cited a case concerning somebody called Anisto Elliott, one of these criminals who had previously 17 convictions, including knife crime, and was able to stay and murder someone for his deportation was blocked. Then she asked him to apologise for signing these letters. Well, this is where Keir Starmer just hit her with a zinger of a reply.
Mr. Speaker, I'd firstly remind her that when we're in the number now, under their watch, of migrants coming to this country, nearly 1 million, is over 4 times the number when we're in the EU. They lost control of the borders. And the particular example she puts to me is an example of failure under her government to take the necessary measures to keep our country safe.
Boom. Very good point there by Keir Starmer. You cannot really criticise him campaigning for free movement when, after Brexit, immigration has just skyrocketed, hasn't it? Well, anyway, she just completely lost the room, and her question as well, I suppose, when she accused the Prime Minister of repeatedly signing letters criticising the immigration system, claiming it deters migrants rather than provide support, and also the break emergency Jeremy Corbyn glass were broken when she said he served as Jeremy Corbyn's shadow immigration minister and has taken the last Labour government to court for cutting benefits for asylum seekers. He has never taken a target-based approach to immigration and committed to a cap on immigration. The Prime Minister's refusal to discuss his past is ludicrous, saying she has committed to a cap on immigration. Why hasn't he? See, the thing is now, it was like taking candy from a baby, because Keir Starmer just fired back with the opposition leader, discusses his record as chief prosecutor for 5 years, prosecuting people who were deported and convicted. And he just fired back with their record of handling record numbers of asylum seekers in 14 years, despite the government's lack of control over borders. Despite setting a cap for each year, the government did not stop people from coming, leading to a record number of asylum seekers, and it is they who should be the ones who should be apologising to the nation. But for me, this is where she just shows how out of depth she really is, when she absolutely destroyed the point of attacking the Prime Minister's past when she said this.
Mr. Speaker, he did not answer a single question. He never answers questions. He wants to talk about the past. The fact is, we've acknowledged where things went wrong. He will never take responsibility.
Yes, she spent so much time doing her charge sheet, talking about the Prime Minister's past, everyone forgot about what the question she was asking, even if she did ask a question. Then she gets angry because he's talking about the previous government's past record, while at the same time criticising the past record of the Prime Minister. But when she says that we have acknowledged where things went wrong, isn't that code for, why haven't you sorted out our mess that we've made after 5 months in government? It's not as if you hadn't had enough time, you know. Anyway, she then waffled on about the pointless Rwanda plan. Let's be honest, nobody anymore believes was a deterrent, while Keir Starmer just hit back by saying that if he was invited back to speak about the mess the previous government had made, he'd be there all afternoon, and I would say, and then some. Then the Speaker threatened the gulping Chris Philp to an early subsidised cuppa, and then after that, Keir Starmer gave a strong answer to the reason why this line of questioning is so ridiculous, because he said the UK has signed a significant agreement with Germany, ensuring enforcement powers across the continent, and the Border Security Command has been established with an additional £75 million committed. These powers are being extended to counter terrorism, and the UK has returned 9,400 people who should not be there, and a record number of flights have taken off. And the opposition had been discussing removal flights for years, but this has not been successful. And she somehow thinks that she's a dab hand at comedy, when she said the Prime Minister's claims to smashing the gangs was only smashing his reputation. And the cost of the Iraqi agreement is only £500,000, which would not buy a house in his constituency. Oh, get her on Comedy Central there. And he's taking credit for agreements with other countries. But for me, this is where she should have done her questioning on immigration, talking about what the government promised in their manifesto when she said that the Prime Minister promised to end asylum hotels, but his government is expanding their use in Altrincham and Peterborough due to disarmament. And then she talked about a man who arrived here on small boats and said that he was happy that Labour was in power as they are making the procedure easier for them. Let's be honest here, it's not really the zinger she really thinks it is it? Because, of course, the procedure should be more easy for those seeking asylum. The easier it is, the less people will be coming here on boats and probably won't be stuck in their backlog in hotels either, would they? But anyway, Keir Starmer said the leader of the opposition should welcome the Iraq deal and the Germany deal, as they both are important for dealing with these vile traders, so to speak, and the Iraqi deal is well documented and has been difficult to enforce, and the Germany deal aims to take effective action to stop boats from reaching the channel. She should welcome this, as law enforcement believes it's also a good thing too, and the leader of the opposition should always welcome the Germany deal, as many boats are coming through Germany, highlighting the need for more research and action. Now, whether he's right or wrong, it's immaterial, it's what he just said. But anyway, she then seemed to think that her best way to grandstand for her final question was to talk about his past again, by accusing the Prime Minister of consistently backing criminals over law-abiding citizens, defending terrorists like Hizb ut-Tahrir, sorry if I butchered it, in the European Union, and opposing immigration laws with a racist undercurrent. He voted against life sentences for people smugglers and over 100 migration control measures. He appointed Shamima Begum's defence lawyer as Attorney General, despite Conservatives taking away her citizenship. And the Prime Minister's actions may lead to more small boat arrivals, prompting questions about his stance on British citizens and the removal of citizenship from jihadi terrorists and Assad supporters. You know, as if she's got a zinger of a crescendo, but all she did was give him the opportunity to tell those who were watching why the former Prime Minister, Theresa May, gave him a knighthood.
Speaker, I was Director of Public Prosecution for 5 years. Unlike anyone on their benches, I was prosecuting for 5 years hundreds of thousands of criminals. That includes huge terrorist gangs, rapists. I was working for 3 of those 5 years with the then Home Secretary Theresa May, who commended the work that I did at the end of those 5 years. So for her to stand there and say, I haven't done anything in law enforcement, I dedicated 5 years of my life to law enforcement, locking up criminals, which is more than she can say. And it would be easier to take the opposition seriously if they actually got serious. Not a slither of remorse, not a hint of contrition. It's like the arsonists complaining about the people who are trying to put the fire out. And all they do is come every week with more and more complaints. Just wait till they get their hands on the people that created the mess that we are clearing up. We're fixing the economy, we're ending their open borders policy, we're taking down the waiting list. That's what people voted for. We're delivering it.
Now, let's be honest here. She made Mr. Lego Man look like a master statesman, didn't she? Again. But why did she go down this line of questioning that not only makes her party look weak, but herself look weak as well? Now, I do have a theory in that, but I'll get to that later. But let's be honest here, she's woefully out of her depth, isn't she? Why go down the route of saying he campaigned for free movement in a Brexit referendum when immigration went up after Brexit? Why accuse him of talking about the past when all she did was basically talk about his past record and the "we acknowledge where things went wrong" line? Have you? Not from where I've been watching. Also, an attack on his record at the DPP. Just give him the opportunity to talk about him prosecuting hundreds of thousands of criminals. Also, when he spoke about the deals with Iraq and Germany, he just had all the answers against her arguments as well, didn't he? And the thing is, there's so many things she could have just hit him with, like the winter fuel payment. You know, if I remember rightly, the 5% cut in public services. Building of social housing, that's quite a controversial subject as well. And even with the farmers that, you know, they were practically driving over the tolls with their tractors that day. But I do wonder if the reason why she didn't ask a question about farming was... I'm just wondering whether Ed Davis' second question could have highlighted how much of a busted flush not only our Kemi Badenoch is, but also our party is as well.
British farmers are the best in the world. Yeah. They are the best in the world because of our tradition of family farms, where from generation to generation a commitment to high-quality food, to our precious environment, animal welfare, is passed down. But family farms were let down badly by the last Conservative government, with their botched transition to new payment schemes and their unfair trade deals with Australia and New Zealand that have undercut British farmers. Now, many family farms feel the government's budget will be the final blow. So will the Prime Minister change course and recognise the vital role that British family farms play?
Yeah. Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as he knows, we put £5 billion into farming over the next 2 years. That's a record number under the budget. Last week alone, £350 million to support farmers in the United Kingdom. That does contrast with the last government, who was an underspend of £300 million in relation to farmers. In relation to inheritance tax, as he knows, in a typical family case, the threshold is £3 million, and therefore the vast majority of farmers will be unaffected, despite the fear-mongering of the party opposite.
Howard Davis' question was interesting for me because he brought up the shit trade deal with Australia and New Zealand. And he's not wrong, is he? But is this the reason why she never had one question on farming? Not so sure, if I'm honest. Don't think she's that intelligent. Now, I have a theory as to the reason why she went with immigration with the 6 questions, and it's just a theory. I wonder if that speech by Keir Starmer last week when he talked about open borders after Brexit spooked her and her advisors. Well, that's if she has any advisors, and if she does she listen to them? I don't know. Because open borders, let's be honest, is like a red rag to a bull, isn't it, for their swivel-eyed loons in the membership and those who are prepared to vote for Tories, and they are very likely to find reform just as appealing after hearing that, won't they? So I wonder if that's the reason why she went down that route. But what do you guys think? Let me know down below, and if you enjoy everything House of Commons and Select Committee meetings, like and subscribe, and I shall bid you farewell and take care, my friends.